Hallo und willkommen zum DocFest München 2020, zum DocFest at Home. Die Filme sind im Netz zu sehen und so ist es auch bei dem Film, um den es heute gehen wird. Mein Name ist Roderich Fabian, ich bin vom Zündfunk Bayern 2 hier um die Ecke und wir freuen uns heute über einen Film zu sprechen, der mich sehr beeindruckt hat. Der Film heißt Run Like a Girl und bewirbt sich wie alle anderen Filme dieses Festivals auch um den Kino-Publikumspreis. Also vergessen Sie nicht, falls Ihnen der Film gut gefallen hat, Ihre Stimme für diesen Film abzugeben, vom Bayerischen Rundfunk und von Dreisat veranstaltet. Genau, der Film heißt Run Like a Girl, ist die Geschichte einer Sportlerin aus Kenia, einer Marathonläuferin. Und es ist eine Langzeitstudie, denn insgesamt werden 4 Jahre im Leben dieser Frau gezeigt. Die Regisseurin dazu heißt Katrin Kjær und sitzt in Kopenhagen und ich begrüße Sie jetzt. Hello, Katrin.
Hallo, geht's gut?
Yes. You speak German? Should we do it in German or
Yes.
in English?
Ein bisschen, aber wir mussten in Englisch sprechen, glaubst du, das ist besser, ja.
Okay. I just told the audience that the film was made in a time span of 4 years, which is a long time.
6 actually.
6 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you get across to this to the Viseline, the runner in the beginning?
But actually, it started that I wanted to. I just finished making a film in Ethiopia, which was like a family tale
About adoption.
About adoption. Yes, exactly. And I wanted to work some more with the I was fascinated by working with these characters in Africa, but not without with the focus on the relations instead of all the cultural differences. I mean, not that the cultural differences was shown, but it was the relations, the human relations, where I could identify. So I wanted to do a female portrait of a heroine because I kind of saw how I was occupied with the women's right in Africa, but instead of focusing on all the things that were bad for them, I wanted to portray a woman who succeeded despite all the culture she was coming from. So that was kind of the way it started. And then I started with my producer brainstorming what kind of, what could it be? And for me, it could just as well have been somebody who has succeeded as a physician or as a chess player or whatever. But it, and then running was, I thought in the beginning it was too obvious, but sometimes you also need to. It was also it was doable to find a person because they're kind of the runners are kind of there's a big concentration of them in certain geographical parts of Africa, so it was easier for me to visit these places and start to talk to the women in these areas, to hear their personal stories.
And her name is Viseline Jepkesho. And she is a very famous runner, a marathon runner, female, won a lot of races. She's now 32 years old nowadays. She's still running, actually. Do you know?
Yes.
Still doing the races?
She is, but they're also, I just talked to her, and they're also, a lot of races are canceled because of the corona, so they're also suffering from the corona as the rest of us. So, but yes, she's still running, but she wasn't famous when I started following her in the beginning. I thought I would follow a girl she started running too. She won a marathon, but then I realized how long a journey that is. And that would take maybe 15 years from you start your career. Normally you start in smaller races, and marathon is kind of where you end. That's the top of the running chain, kind of, and the most prestigious run. So I thought, okay, maybe I can't follow a completely beginner, but her name came up in my research several times. Her name came up as a potential as one of these runners who was about to make it into the big stage. So that was how I was led to her as on the earth to break through, and then she became famous with the Paris. She won the Paris Marathon, and she was also there was also there was also she was with the Olympics, and so she became famous actually while I was filming her.
Was it easy to get her into the film, to let her show her private life, her family, her home? Which is how did you do it? How to get into this areas of hers?
Yeah, I'm very happy that you asked that, because that is actually, I mean, what people who know the culture. I talked to an American producer who has been working there, and when he saw the film, he was like, "How did you get that access?" Because in Kenya, I mean, they're the culture is they're very polite, especially to foreigners, and smiling, but to get into their private sphere is actually really, really hard. So that is also why it took so many years to make this film. So it actually took me a couple of years before she started opening up, and it ended that, I mean, that I stayed with Vizelin and Abraham when I was there. I had to insist sometimes to stay in a small hotel down the road because I needed some some privacy. But then when she finally opened up, she was very open. And also they don't have, I mean, when you ask about their feelings, they're not used to spend a lot of time reflecting on their feelings. I mean, it's a luxury that they can't do. And when they speak to each other, they're more like speaking about what's the price at the market today for maize or whatever. I mean, it's not in their culture to discuss their inner feelings. I mean, so it was a big, it was something she had to overcome. But on the other hand, it has actually it has created a strong bond between me and her, because she kind of grew fond of it to also now, after the film has finished, to be able to talk about all these private things with another person.
And the main thing which I learned from the film is that you have an African woman in a completely male society, male-dominated society, and she really makes her way through it. And you see her husband and you see her dad asking her for money and stuff like that. And so she's like a real exception for her culture. Does she know that? And did you wanted to show that part of this story?
But can you try to because you think she's an exception in which way?
Yeah, because normally the women have to stay in the house and don't have to make the money, and the men go out and have make the money, and so it's vice versa here. So she feels like a very free woman, a self-conscious woman, but she had to work. She had to work for it. Does she think about this transition of gender roles?
Yeah. She is very aware, and she's very proud of. I mean, and she's like hoping that she can inspire other women around her. But she's at the same hand, at the same time, she still also needs to navigate in this, so she cannot. I mean, she still has to play the game, kind of. She still has to make it her husband's decision. While I was filming her, I saw her being better to navigate, but she still has to also to give him the feeling that he also makes the decision. For example, she says, "It's not my money. I can't decide for myself how to spend them." It has, because she has to at least make the husband feel that it's his decision. Then she can maybe, push him in a direction. Yeah. But she still has to play the game that it's his decision, and she actually gladly does it, because even though she actually loves her husband, truly. I mean, she loves him, even though, but she, and then when she talks to me, even though she's on the other hand, when she sees, and she travels so much to the Western culture, she's also, I mean, I felt her longing for like the relationship she sees that you can have with your husband in other countries where you're more equal, you know, but she's kind of have this deep acceptance of her culture is different and she can change it within the frames she's kind of put in. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Another issue which comes up in the film several times is doping, that successful runners lose their medals because they have cheated, and so everybody I think thinks what's about Celine? How does she deal with that? How is the issue with her? Do you know that?
No, I actually I was thinking a lot. Should I ask her? But I was like, why? Because if I asked her, she would have said no. I mean, I know that she, I mean, of course, I have never seen her take anything. But on the other hand, there's so many using the doping substance. So, I mean, I would be surprised if she wasn't. But I mean, I have never seen anything, and actually and of course the doping, I thought, what do I do if I along the way finds out that she is using doping? If she gets caught, and I was like, it wouldn't change my story, because I don't approve of doping, but if I were in her situation, I think I would use doping. If that was my chance to give my children an education, and I mean, what would I have to lose? And actually, I got very provoked in my research when I was in this training center where there was a lot of Western men who were there who were involved in the running industry, and one was the coach for, you know, the teams from the Europe and America comes to train in that area. And I was sitting talking to them, and they were shaming a woman who had just been, a Kenyan woman who had just been caught on doping, and they were like being very moral, and they were saying, how can she look herself in the eyes in the morning, or look herself in the mirror? And I got so provoked, because I thought it was such a privileged point of view to have. I mean, that's easy for us to say when you're from another culture, but when you have so much to gain in the sport as they do, I mean, it's not for fun or for honor or to lose weight that they run. I mean, they run for their life. So I was really, I got really provoked about these white men sitting there with all their privilege and shaming these women for using doping. So I decided that even though she was caught in doping, it wouldn't change my perspective of her as a heroine for what she's doing. I don't know if it makes, I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
And of course, if the doping, I mean, so I was open to the doping thing. It was around, and it would, of course, it would probably have been able to make a much more commercial film if I had followed that lead, because it is what creates bigger headlines in the world. But I kind of chose to be, to tell it through Viceline's perspective, or to only know what I was let in through her world, what I was told through her.
You already said it. It's a running industry. It's a business in a way, the whole sports scene, what you show there. And everybody involved, like the trainers and managers and press agents. And it's a real business. And that's what she says in the beginning of the movie. Is it really true? Because she says, I have to make a kind of living, and I want to have a better life than my parents had. So I chose running as a business to make a better life. She's not really into running. She just does it as a business decision. Is it like this?
Yeah.
Yes. It's not.
There's no passion about it.
Uh-huh.
there's no like not at all. I mean, I think the day she doesn't make any money running, I don't think she will ever run again. There's no I mean, like Haruki Murakami has wrote a whole book about what I talk about when I talk about running, and the whole, sensei, like a mental state of mind and all this.
Discipline.
Nothing, and that's, I find it kind of ironic, and also that's also when you saw these races with all the, I mean, then you have the elite field in the front, and then comes all the rest of us. I also ran a marathon for at one time as a personal challenge, and when they come in, I mean, they faint and they puke, and they're like, it's the hardest thing they've ever done. And they just, these women and men also, they just shake their head and then they move on to the next race. It's very unsentimental. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I saw in the film is that only the winner is smiling on the podium when the winner stands there, and they have the second and third place, and they're like very sad. Yeah. It's only the number one that counts for them.
Well, that it is. I mean, it's a lot of money for them. So there's a big difference between the first prize and the second prize. But I was with her at a race where she was very disappointed. Actually, the Istanbul race, but then it turned out because she had been the one pacing the whole time, so she made. And then there's also some, if you make a track record, if you run the track fastest than anybody has done before, then you get a bonus. So then she found out that she got a really big bonus for the time, and then she was in a really good mood that evening. So it's just about them. I mean, it's just about the money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For them, because yeah.
Do you still are in touch with her? It's 2 years ago that you finished filming her. Do you still hear from her? What is she doing now?
Still running. She was supposed to run Paris again this year, and she ran Göteborg last. I met with her actually last year in Göteborg. I took the train there just to meet with her. And she was supposed to run Paris, but of course everything is also postponed now. And and I know that she would really like to have a second child, but that's, I mean, now she's the main breadwinner, so, and that will take her out of the business for at least a year, maybe two. So it's also some timing. And that way she's very similar to, other women having a career, and trying to find a balance between the family, the job. So yeah.
I see. And you seen parts of the other film about the adoption, called The Adoption, I think, which is a very impressive film, I think, about a failed adoption, you can say, in a way.
Yeah.
From kids from Africa too, coming to Denmark. So what is, you do some films about the relationship between Europe and Africa? Is this your main issue as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've thought about it now. This is the Run Like a Girl is my third film in 10 years about Africa, but it hasn't. It's not like it's been a conscious choice that okay, this is my issue. But it's only when I look back, in hindsight, I can of course see that there's some thread there. I think I'm really in my perspective of the world, I always try to find equality in the most unequal settings. I mean, the more strange a culture, the more distant it feels from myself. I always try to find some human connection to these people, and I'm very occupied about identifying with people which at first sight I can't identify with. So I think it is to find the human equality. Where are we, you know? And also because I think that if you want to put, I mean, there is a tendency which has provoked me a lot in the very well-meaning way of telling stories from Africa, where it's often, or other parts of the undeveloped countries, where you often focus on you're victimizing them. You know, you start by telling about all the things with how hard their life is, how poor they are, how the children are starving. And what you do emotional when you see this is that it becomes they and us. Mm-hmm. I will rather tell a story about, here's this woman. She's a mother like me. She's picking up her kid from school like I do. You know, she has to do homework. She has to blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, so focus on all the things where we are similar, and with all where we can recognize each other in the humanity, and then let all the differences be like the background of, I mean, of course it's there, and it's what I want people to think about, but more because they have an emotional experience of recognizing this woman or recognizing her life, and then thinking, wow, imagine that she goes through the exact same as me every day, but she just also has to struggle with this and this and this and this, and that's really unfair. That should not be like that, because we are so similar. Let's do something about it. I think it's more like out of that, yeah.
I think this really what this film is all about, and it really gets across this message very well. Katrin, I wish you're filming already a new documentary. I think so. You finished another one?
I actually just 2 months before this, I made another one about adoption, also from Ethiopia, called Girl in Return. Also, so I just finished 2 films last year, and now I'm filming many. I'm in development with many different projects, but one of them is about a former Afghan football captain who is fighting for women's rights through football, actually.
Back to sport. Katrin Kjær, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day with your family.
Thank you. I'm sorry I can't be in Munich and taste the asparagus, and I have been looking forward to that and having some nice beer, but yes. Yeah, I will do that from home. I wish you a very good festival. All the best for the online version.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Bye.